Legal foundations of special education. According to Education Act of 1982 or Batas Pambansa bilang 232, the state shall promote the right of every individual to relevant quality education regardless of sex, age, breed, socioeconomic status, physical and mental condition, social and ethnic origin, political and other affiliations. The state shall therefore promote and maintain equality of access to education as well as enjoyment of the benefits of education by all its citizens. In 1978, Presidential Decree Number 1509 created the National Commission Concerning Disabled Persons. It was renamed National Council for the Welfare of Disabled Persons. Care and Protection of Disabled Children, CA 3203. The rights of every child in the Philippines to live in an environment conducive to his physical, moral, and intellectual development, and the duty of the government to promote the full growth of every child. Accessibility Law or Batas Pambansa bilang 344, requiring certain building, institutions, establishments, and public utilities to install accessible facilities and other devices, including transportation and communication devices. Amendments to the Accessibility Law, providing stricter identification of specific individuals and offices liable for violations with increased penalty and the added accessibility requirements with regard to public transportation. Next law is the White Cane Act or Republic Act number 6759. This law declared that the first day of August each year was the White Cane Safety Day, white cane being a symbol of the need of the blind persons. Next law is the Child and Youth Welfare Code, or the Presidential Decree Number 603. It protects and supports children with special needs by addressing different areas where they can be assisted, improved, and be developed to cope with life's demands and be integrated into the society to become useful citizens of the country. Next is the Economic Independence of Disabled Persons Act. It requires that all governmental agencies, instrumentalities, and government-owned and controlled corporations to source out at least 10% of their supplies and equipment requirements from cooperatives of the PWDs or the persons with disabilities that are engaged in manufacturing and fabrication in order to support the economic independence of the persons with disabilities. Next is the Magna Carta for Disabled Persons. It affirms the full participation and total integration of persons with disabilities into the mainstream of our society by giving them equal opportunities to develop their skills and potentials and affording them equal access to the basic services extended by the government. It also protects the rights and privileges of the PWDs on employment, education, health, telecommunications, auxiliary social services, accessibility, political and civil rights. And also it provides penalties for the violations of this law. In the year 2002, Administrative Order 35, the National Disability Prevention and Rehabilitation Week celebration on the third week of July every year was launched, which shall culminate on the birth date of the sublime paralytic Apolinario Mabini. Then we have RA 9442 in 2007. It's the amendment of the Republic Act 7277, privileges to PWDs. PWDs have 20% discount privileges. They could also change name. This law also changed name from Magna Carta for Disabled Persons to Magna Carta for PWDs. And it also added a clause um, on deliverance of PWDs from public ridicule and vilification. That means he cannot publicly ridicule a person with disability because of his condition. Next, we have Republic Act number 9288, otherwise known as the Newborn Screening Act of 2004. This is based on the premise that a retarded child could have been normal, and a drop of blood can save the baby from the mental retardation and death. Newborn screening is a very simple test that should be given to the baby 24 hours after birth. If the test is given too late, the baby can either die or eventually be severely retarded. Newborn screening is a blood test wherein a blood sample can be taken from the heel of the child. The sample, which is dropped in a special paper, is then sent by the hospital to a centralized testing center which is run by the National Institute of Health at its head office at the University of the Philippines, Manila. The test primarily checks for 5 metabolic disorders that could affect the health of the child within the first few weeks of life. These are congenital hypothyroidism, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, galactosemia, phenylketonuria, and G6PD deficiency. If gone undetected, these disorders may cause severe mental retardation, cataracts, severe anemia, or even death. But if diagnosed early enough, the child can grow up as a normal and a healthy human being. If a baby is shown to be positive for any of the disorders mentioned, the parents will be immediately informed and more tests will be done to the child to confirm the test. And once properly diagnosed, proper treatment and care can be given to the baby to correct the disorder. The baby can then go on to live a happy and normal life. Next is the NCDA Administrative Order Number 1, Series of 2008. It is the guidelines on the issuance of the PWD ID cards relative to RA 9442. Next is RA 170 in the year 2010. It is also an amendment from RA 7277. Implementation of programs and services for PWDs in every province, city, and municipality. PDAO law. RA 10366 in the year 2013 is the accessible polling places for PWDs and senior citizens, meaning they will be given a special lane during elections. Proclamation number 688 series of 2013 declaring the period of 2013 to 2002 as the Philippine decade of Make the Right Real for PWDs. The next is RA 10524, amendment of RA 7277, expanding the positions reserved for PWDs. We have 1% of all the government agencies and offices and corporations shall be reserved for the PWDs. Private companies with over 100 employees are encouraged to reserve at least 1% for PWDs. Then we have the Civil Service Commission Memorandum Circular number 20 of 2017. It refers to the express lanes for PWDs in all commercial and government establishments. Then we have RA 11228 in the year 2019. It's also an amendment of the 7277 law, which states that all PWDs shall be automatically covered by the National Health Insurance Program of the PhilHealth, and that all the PhilHealth shall develop exclusive packages for PWDs that will address their specific health and development needs. Then we have Dex Order number 26 series of 1997 mandates the following: to organize at least one SPED center in the region or division which shall cater the children with special needs. To organize SPED programs in all districts in schools where there are identified cases of specialties. Expand the role function of the SPED teach centers. To wit, support children with special needs who are integrated in the regular schools, assist in the conduct of in-service training, conduct continuous assessment of SCNs or children with special needs, and then the Dex Order also mandates SPED centers to initiate and conduct regional division and district-based training for teachers and SPED teachers. Then number 5, plan incentives to sustain the continuing interest in the implementation of the program through the following initiatives. Number 1, Dex Order 5, series of 1998, reclassification of the regular teacher and the principal items to SPED teacher and special school principals items. RA number 6758, prescribing a revised compensation and position classification system in the government. So those are the different laws pertaining the implementation of the special education and the PWDs here in our country, Philippines. Now for your assignment, research stories and articles